That's what the hundred for the
The
services.
80,000.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
The evaluation is in
I'm good
progress
with
now,
If you don't have an issue with zeroing it out,
or at least $1.
yeah, right, leave the
$1,
line
right.
open. That's up to the board, but
And I have no objections to that. As long as it's in one of the budgets or another, there's no reason to have $1,700 on hand for maintenance for that vehicle.
Try to leave a little in, just a little.
Maybe the difference between 1,000. So if there's 700 in Josh's budget, 300 in this budget.
There's 500 in Josh's.
Okay, so
Put it
500. Sure, absolutely.
500.
yeah.
What if we change,
All right.
500?
Gotta have a motion.
I move, change the figure for line item 207, vehicle maintenance from 1,000 to 500.
Second. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Seven. Yes.
On line 15, 015. Yep. The 345. I'm just curious, the fire department boat is used to do your assessing.
The
on the
fire or
islands?
police department. Yep, that's used to pay the wages of the person that takes me out.
Okay, so you don't drive the boat?
I don't.
You have someone
I do
else do
not.
it for
No,
you?
They provide the service. Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, that answers that question, but there's another thing that I just, has anyone given a thought as to when this boat is replaced, to keep the boat for the assessing department and building department?
I have not had that discussion with anybody. That would be,
I think it's all
well,
money.
without having had given that any consideration.
But you don't use it 3-4 days a year.
Right, I only have so many building permits on the islands that I need to go and get, so it really isn't.
I was just a thought. I mean,
Terrible
it's something that I just kind of thought about
Sure.
in the event an emergency vehicle is being used to go check assessing or building codes and it's needed.
That has crossed my mind.
That's
too.
all. I was just thinking about it.
They get a call for their boat while they're out. In the
Mhm.
middle. Okay, I'll see
right,
you guys
thanks.
later. I'll swim home.
That's all.
More questions? I get a motion then.
I'll make a motion that we approve the assessing budget at the $80,840.
I'll second.
That was the math right
Same
on that?
budget, 147,327.
Oh,
Yep.
oops, you know what I did?
Yeah.
Trying to look at the budget going, where the heck did he go?
That's okay, but I might be done by October next year.
Yeah, 'cause
Just deducting that one out of the decrease.
327, right?
147,327.
yes.
Three.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, now we go to public hearing for the acceptance of the American Rescue Plan Act funds.
Certainly, I can speak to this, and Laura will as well. She has more of the technical information for you, but this public hearing is required in order for the town to accept the first 50% of the ARPA funds, which we have received, but in order for it to be used, you have to accept it. That's all this is required. That's it, just to accept the ARPA funds. Laura has the exact amount. And she is keeping a list of projects that qualify for the ARPA funds. And that's about it.
What are we looking at on
Okay,
the,
so the town is going to receive in full, the whole grant or the whole American Rescue Plan is $557,000. Well, $557,786. So the first portion that we have received is $278,893.22. That's the portion that you need to accept.
Was it again, 105?
$278,893.22. You should receive the second portion between spring and summer of 22.
That'll be next spring.
next year. Usually it's about 12 months from when you got your first one.
What can these funds be used for? Just so it's on.
It can be used for several different things. Some have really strict, like stringent rules. Responding to public health emergency, assistance to households, nonprofit, premium pay for essential employees, replacement of revenue if you lost any, which we did not as the municipality. And then you can do investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure.
Or broadband.
Funds for future projects, not projects that we've already done, correct?
Anything that was scheduled.
It was scheduled.
If you had a scheduled project in 2020 and it was not completed because of the COVID, you could actually use that. Because part of it could be used on your school
Church
street,
School and Church Street.
like the
That's what I was
overage on the
wondering.
water. Yep. And I actually
That would
got,
take a burden off the water users.
Yep.
Scott Kidman has actually provided a breakdown. I know it's a lot. He's done the whole water, but you can actually vote as a board to recoup some of that for overages. You're doing a little bit on Blueberry Lane that you're doing for DES, the water project down there. That's gonna cost you probably 55,000. You agreed to do the 2 lease payments for the police detail because of the lost revenue in that department. Those are some of your options that you can.
Can we get that put on the agenda?
For those motions, you.
Yep, so we can discuss where we're gonna put it and stuff. Possible?
I believe you already agreed to the Blueberry Lane one
Yeah, I think so.
and the police vehicles.
And
So
the
it's
police
really the
vehicles.
water one that you can.
Water.
Water.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you want the water one on a future agenda, or do you want to wait until?
Well, I think we should put the whole revenue with the water and everything on it, so we can discuss the whole thing.
I really think we should wait until the final bills are in from the road reconstruction for the water. See where it comes in at, have all the bills in, all the credits that have been issued back to the town for overages that we might have over materials. Then talk about it and see how much money is there and what we can put to, how much we put towards it.
Courtney, set that up.
What's the time frame on that? Any idea?
Off the top of my head, I don't. Nearing the end.
Yeah,
Very-
the water bill should be pretty
Very
well
good.
finished by now,
The water part.
I would think.
What was it last week? They had to dig up a fire hydrant,
Yes.
take it out because there was one that had to be taken out by the contractor, but it wasn't taken out. So after they loaned in, they ended up digging it out.
Doing it again.
So you're gonna have a bill there for part of that, probably. Unless the town says, no, you're gonna cover that because that was already out of the agreement. I just think that we should wait till rest of it gets all.
No, I think we should wait.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It makes sense to wait.
Definitely.
We can keep an eye on it, and then when it's ready to move forward, we'll put it on the agenda.
Okay, let me open up to the public. All right, seeing none. We will close the public hearing. On to Highway Department.
We gotta approve this, right?
Oh, yeah.
We gotta approve
have a
this.
motion first.
I make a motion to accept the American Rescue Plan Act funds in the amount, I should give the amount of $278,893.22.
I'll second it.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to Highway Department now.
How you doing, Scott?
That make it good?
Really.
You know.
Mondays are always tough days.
Statement or anything?
No, I,
Questions?
the only statement I would make is,
As you saw, I have a little bit different sheet than what some of the other departments have. So hopefully it helps you in meaning how I derive some of the costs. And if you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them.
God, I noticed on a few of the line items, gas and some of them you did remove down to $1. Just take, and I'm just gonna give a couple line items out here. 446 street sweeping. Put in infectious disease. Line 450. Chipper, line 532. Steam cleaner, 538. Trailers, 539. You have nothing in those columns. You didn't want to at least leave $1 in there in case something happens.
Personally, I moved all those expenses, if any, into other lines. So they are moved into other categories. With the exception of the infectious disease one there that was here. My experience has been in those situations and is that if in fact anything should occur, that would be covered under through our insurance carrier for a workers' comp. So I don't see that is a need for an expense. If we were out getting our hepatitis shots or we were getting rabies shots or something along that line, then I could see that coming out of there. So that's the reason why I zeroed that one out. And the other ones were more maintenance related. So I have rolled those into the maintenance line.
Well, the infectious disease,
That was rabies.
I know, but if we run it through insurance, then they're paying deductible and everything else.
Town picks up 90% of that. And if that's the point, that should come up, so it should be all covered.
It should be covered. The town would, I believe under workman's comp, there's no deductible involved. There's cover those expenses as long as, which would be medical and any lost time.
Office supplies. Hell of a jump.
Office supplies, the jump in that one is the software. I put in software, I believe you had this discussion last week with Josh relative to the work order software, which is also part of an asset management program as well. So it's two components that basically service the one software. So the building department now currently has iWork as well to do their permitting. And in working with Josh and the discussion with Josh as well, is this would actually be able to be added to the GIS system through the what you have now for your mapping system and everything. Well, so that is an annual cost for maintenance of the system. It's a cloud-based system for that, and that would track all of our work orders. Currently, you only have one work order program which services the fleet maintenance program. So you have that separately, I believe Josh carries that maintenance in his budget annually. So that services multi-departments, which is fire, police, and public works as well, and the other fleet vehicles that you have. So this would be a new work order program for all road, and it can be incorporated later on into also your buildings and maintenance.
Yes.
Thank you. Line 142, salt. That's quite a jump.
Yeah, you have had quite a jump. I say only quite a jump because as I explained at the last select board meeting was relative to transitioning from straight salt application or sand salt applications to going to adding a liquid de-icer to the salt, that has an added component to it. So that's an added cost in the salt line. And that's where I carry that liquid is in the salt line. So that's in there.
So that is in here.
Yes.
And that, even though we discussed it just last Monday, it was already in the budget.
That's
And
You're
correct.
also gonna be
Okay.
saving money.
And that's what I was asking.
Save money in other places, which is basically on the labor cost end of things and also on some maintenance cost, for part of the street sweeping, as we've talked about as well. The other piece to that, component is I've kept this salt price at this price here, in this budget with hopes that because you did not expend money out of your 2021 budget to its full potential, for both sand and salt, that, we would be able to utilize that to be able to bring our stockpiles in. But I can tell you that salt has gone up. Now I think it is about, well, from what I have here, it would be, I think it's like $14 higher, at $73.90, I think. Just got up salt prices the other day. Yeah, $73.90 per ton. So it has taken quite a jump. It probably would have been nice if, the state I kind of was suspicious when I saw that, when I went to the fuel up at the state shed, that they were completely full already. So they bought under last year's contract. Quite a bit of salt, and didn't clue anybody else in, of course, because they wanted to get theirs. I have reached out to another state vendor as well. I know Brock and I have talked about it as Public Works directors as to what else is available out there. And he's already a customer of Morton Salt. We are not a customer of Morton Salt. So I'm on a wait list now to get actually a price, but it's the same price.
It's the same thing.
Same price. Sometimes they're pretty close. They're usually pretty close.
Oh, yes.
But I usually always maintain 2 state vendors. For the mere fact is, if in fact you have any quality issues as far as the quality of the salt coming in and or delivery. What happens is sometimes one state stockpile goes down and they're unable to deliver, and if you don't have another resource, then you're going to be without salt.
So basically, it's a $15,000 difference overall. It's at 100. Last year's budget was 130,000. We're looking at 145, going to a different mixture. Also more environmentally friendly with the spray on the salt, which has been a proven fact. So overall, I have no problem with that. Self, $15,000 that we're increasing, but yet it's going better towards the environment.
Plus, as he stated last week, I believe it was, 2 weeks ago, we'll have some other savings
Yes.
associated with that.
You're planning on doing more scraping too?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's how you get
Well, I know, it used to be when
mechanically removing of snow is.
I used to work for the state, people would say, why do you have to plow down on bare roads? But we were scraping mostly, but you could send a truck down the road scraping for a lot less money than you could put down a mile of salt.
Salt, you're exactly right.
Oh, yeah. I had a question on roadside mowing, but I think you answered that a while back also. You want to do more.
Correct.
Right.
Yep. Yep. I basically doubled that line. Ideally, I mean, I've been quoted already, between $30,000 and $35,000 in order to mow the whole town. And I would, that's close. I think it's a little bit more than that, but if in fact you're going to hire a contract mower at today's rates, that's pretty much what you'd be at. Really need to try to stay up with that.
Yeah.
What happened this year, for
Definitely.
an example, and the fellow told me, he was great, he came back, and gave me a summary, is that he spent more time because he had to chew up stuff that was there that was already too big. So, and he does a nice, neat job, and, once
he
again, that
does.
saves us from having to cut it, because once it goes to slash like that, then we would have to go out and mechanically remove that.
Right.
Physical labor. Rather use a machine.
Okay, line 201, the new equipment.
Yep, that has two items in there that for replacement. One is a 12-year-old compactor, and the other one, I believe, is close to 20-year-old compactor in there, the jumping jack from the mechanic assessment. So the reversible plate compactor apologize, typo there, no E on the plat, but it's plate, compactor. So that is, that would be a reversible unit. So you have forward and reverse, be able to do compaction of the trench lines. Other areas. That's where that uptick is in that line.
All those items.
The compactor we got wore out.
Tired, I guess I would call it. You know, you can continue to rebuild these things. The smaller ones,
Times.
I'll be honest with you, the smaller ones, I don't see them as rebuildables. I mean, other than doing the regular small engine repair on them. But replating them and stuff like that, the larger compactors, from what I understand, you can replate them and keep running them.
Anybody else?
Line 208, tires.
That one actually has in there to replace, and once again, this is all contingent upon a couple different things. One is, you'll notice that I have put back in in here, the lease purchases for equipment. And this would be that we would need to replace the loader tires. If in fact you do, a lease is accepted within the budget, then you could actually back that item out of the budget itself for that. So that is in there as well. And I asked Warren to go through and itemize all those tires and make sure that we were, once again,
So I was gonna ask, we're keeping a spare set down there for every vehicle.
yes.
So
Yeah, we've kind of
These-
fallen back off the radar there on a few of them, so that's the reason why you see a
Okay,
little bit of
all
an
right.
uptick. That and tire prices have come up a little bit with the whole petroleum issues that have
Mhm,
happened
yeah.
nationally.
Like everything else.
I was buying tires, I was buying them for about $100 less a tire a while back, so.
Yeah.
$2,200 for the radios, line 440. That's you replacing radios or?
Yes, yeah, I'm looking to upgrade those. I had, as you recall, when I put that grant into the senator, there was to go to interoperability communication system. So this will be to start to replace a couple radios and upgrade to those P25 compliant radios. That way we can monitor police department, which is on a digital frequency. So we can now hear the fire side of things. Although some radios appear that they don't, some of them don't scan. But we want to make sure our key vehicles and the loader operator is basically tuned into what's happening around us here so we can stay up on top of it. So that would be to make those changes and upgrades.
we haven't updated them in a while, radios.
Yeah, and I came from the old days of two-way radios and, my police side of things. It's a lot easier to grab a microphone and call somebody on it, I think, than to stop and telephone that way, unless you have something private you have to talk about.
Well, there should be communication anyways between them. Something ever happens or anything else,
And I know the police department, don't get me wrong, I know the police department does a great job in monitoring, the highway channel that way, but it's, if we can hear something that's going on so that they don't have to make an extra communication and we can be responsive, then certainly want to be there and do that, especially in inclement weather.
anybody else? See no more.
I'm also, Mr. Chairman. I think Scott's kept us abreast throughout the year. We're well aware of a lot of these increases
Oh, yes.
up front.
Just about a 12% increase.
Mr.
You
Chairman, I
hate
don't
to
know.
see, but I don't,
I know.
it should be more than that, by right.
Well, Mr. Roberts is in the back of the room, but I did comment to to him that I found some of his old budgets, actually from 2021. I think he had put together 2 or 3 different draft versions, and then I know that there was some discussions prior to 2021's town meeting. And where, I would say he made some, compromises working with the board relative to that. But I can tell you that this budget here actually is close to one of his numbers that he actually had in one of his versions. So it's not that far off the map. Might have been different monies in different areas for different purposes, but overall in the gross, looking at the budget, so.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad at all.
Mr. Chairman, I do want to apologize. I neglected to get the town administrator the warrant article, what I would offer up for a so-called warrant article relative to your road budget, which goes into the road construction.
The
I guess
road
it's
reconstruction warrant article?
Highway construction, I'm sorry, highway construction capital reserve fund. I know historically you've used a number right around $950,000 for those various different jobs that have come together. And I did, just so you're aware, and I'm not sure if you've been advised, but I did go to the CIP, and when I presented to them and met with them, they did decide that they did not want to vet that through that process, and that it would be a dialogue that I would need to work with you folks and the town administrator on relative to the road budget. And I can provide you with, I've pulled together costing out that process. So if you want to meet at some point in time, or how you want to handle that.
We're gonna have to.
So we're still working on the warrant to bring to the board. So
I'll
when-
get that to you. I actually roughed it out here on paper, but which isn't any big changes other than, looking at an inflationary aspect of things and going forward, looking at the incremental increase as you go down through and looking at your mileage. Had a slight upkick in some of your mileage. It will be reporting to New Hampshire DOT. You've acquired High Point Road. Now granted, it's not huge miles, but it is an additional, amount of lineal feet that you'll be able to report to the state, which will help out in your highway block grant money that you'll actually get. But you also need to look at that inflationary piece to it. So that's the other side. If you stay at 950 for the last 10 years, then you're basically falling behind on that side of it. So you'll see that there's a little bit of there'll be an upkick there, but I also see that I have other funds that weren't expended this year because we were basically waiting to see how everything was going to come out with your major road project in town here. So I believe that after we do all the accounting and everything shaken out, you'll be able to have some monies that may be able to utilized in that pot. So I don't want you to have total sticker shock when you see the number, but you may swallow hard.
Adjust it.
Make it work.
Yeah, we can adjust it to what we like. I thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Want to wait on this?
I'll vote no tonight on the budget. You bring it to a motion tonight. Some more time to study a $200,000 increase in the budget.
Okay.
That's up to the rest of the board.
I agree with that. That's why I was asking if we want to wait on it, because it's a good increase.
Because
All right, we'll hold off on this one till the next meeting. Conservation Commission. Evening, Gene. Question for you on line 139, general expense. Took a good jump there.
Yeah, the biggest jump there. um, Signs to be constructed for town conservation properties and also a couple of wetland and items.
Jean, could you put your microphone to please? Thank you.
Can do that. Those items, at the time that I was doing the budget, things like pressure treated lumber and so on were ridiculously high priced. So I kind of, I just kind of had to pick a number
Have we
almost.
checked with Mr. Kidman on the signs?
Well, these would probably be wooden signs rather than,
Yeah, you don't think it's cheaper to have the metal ones made or?
well, what we're talking about are signs to identify the various properties in town, the town forest, the Gilman Pond, the Stockbridge, Gontars and so on. And, you know, like most conserved properties or state forests, state parks, any of that kind of thing, most of those identifying signs are wooden signs. And we'd kind of like to stay within that kind of appearance. And then the other parts of those things have been pretty much what's been in our budget for several years. I don't really think that we'd end up expending that much money, but like I said, with the prices being what they were, I just, okay, we'll take this much money, we'll either do what we can with it or we'll get the job done.
I have one more question on line 172, the Lay Lake monitoring. Is that for our testing?
Yes,
It
sir.
doesn't go paid to the boat people that are supposed to be watching the boat ramps, right?
No, this is the water testing that has been going on primarily to do with the cyanobacteria.
Cyanobacteria, yeah, okay. Any other questions? I'm pretty good with this one. Ain't much of an increase.
It's not a great deal, but it's been moved around a fair bit. I'm trying to, for one thing, just to make the budget more accurate where we actually spend the money. And then there was one fairly large item last year that was in the budget and we're not going to be using that, but there's probably about that amount of money been put in other places to do smaller projects.
Any more questions?
One other thing I'd like to just mention, I came before you last spring and asked for your approval to participate in a grant application with Belknap County Conservation District to do a management plan on the Gilman projects. That grant was approved.
Nice.
Good, nice.
So hopefully sometime in 2022 that will take place. But I did add a little bit of money in this budget just in case that went over a little bit, because we do have to deal with the isotria up there and so on, which may make the
Makes sense.
planning a little more difficult.
Make a motion that we approve the conservation budget at 23,341.
Second.
For discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
Okay. Other business, Alton Shore Road properties.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This has to do with the auction of tax deeded properties. And I was able to speak to most of you. Not you, Virgil, and not you, Bob. So there are two properties on Alton Shores Road that are going up for auction in November. 185 Alton Shores Road, and then right beside it, an unnumbered parcel.
Yeah, wooded
No.
lot, right?
Right, no street number. associated with it. So code enforcement officer was out there. He came back to tell me that the two lots are side by side. They're both 100-foot by 100-foot lots. There was a house on one of them, 185 Alton Shores Road. It burned down in 2012. The well for that property is on the abutting lot. The driveway access and the driveway to that property is on the other lot. And there is apparently a septic, but it's unknown exactly where, on which lot. But the previous owner owned both lots and used it as one lot. Now, because of the well and the driveway, this is called merger by conduct. And this is something in the assessing field, and it's in the state law, that the planning board may merge the two lots together as one lot because it was used, it is considered merger by conduct. So we were
Why can't we as,
thinking,
why can't we as a town sell it as the two lots, one with a well and one empty lot?
so the way the code enforcement officer explained it to me was there are now certain size requirements on lots, and these fall underneath that. And so I got a consensus from the BOS members that I was able to speak with to notify the auctioneer that both parcels would be sold as one package, with an understanding to whoever wishes to bid on these two parcels that later this fall, the planning board would be merging them together as one parcel, which they are allowed to do under law. So that's being scheduled. And I just wanted to bring it forward to the entire board, and particularly also the two members that
I
we
disagree
were
with it.
we were not able to get a hold of. Bob, we did not contact you because of the death in the.
I appreciate that.
I disagree with it. I think it should be sold as two separate lots, one with a well and one without.
Well, the recommendation is to not do it that way. This merger by conduct and selling two abutting lots together as one parcel has been done before in the auctioneering field. So,
Didn't
But
you say you don't know where the septic is?
That's right.
You didn't know
Correct.
where the septic is?
That's right.
But we're also
that's correct.
could make more.
I have a
money
map
selling
here.
Two separate lots that are already subdivided, already there.
Can we legally sell them two
Yeah.
separate lots?
Yes, we can.
I'm not so sure. I suppose they could be sold as unbuildable.
Oh, they're a buildable lot.
I'm
You
not-
can't sell an unbuildable lot, first of all, in the state of New
I'm
Hampshire.
not here to argue.
Those are already a subdivision lots and they're legal to build on.
I'm just asking for confirmation from the board that these two will be sold together as one package with a clear understanding in the advertising and to whoever bids on it, that they will become one lot at some point in the near future. The town is taking care of that.
Well, if,
Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Chairman, the only thing, two things I had to point out. So one is the Board of Selectmen had to vote on this, if I'm not mistaken. Secondly, we should not be selling those lots until they are already merged together before auction. We should not be telling whoever buys them that we will be merging them after the auction. To me, that should be all done. How many other lots, the second question is, how many other lots do we have going?
You have another one up on Scott's Drive that's the same size,
So if,
same size lot,
that has an
right in that
existing,
subdivision.
I'm not here to argue, really. This is such a simple thing that
I'm
needs
just
to be
asking
taken care of
is-
quickly. There were 3 other properties.
There's 5 altogether right now. We merged this, we're down to 4.
Yes, and this happens regularly.
I understand you, Liz, you tell us this happens regularly. I say pull these two lots off the auction for this year, wait till next year until they're all put together. Shouldn't be done after the auction. This should be done before the auction. The town selling the property, I feel it should all be a done kit caboodle, not have to explain it. And then we just go with the three parcels that we have. Because I agree with you, Virgil, one instinct that yes, those two lots are lots of records, so they are buildable, they're grandfathered. But the problem is we have a well and septic on another piece of property, they've been
So you
passing,
gotta-
passing over it.
You've got a well on a septic piece of property. Septic can't be by that well. That's gonna be on the other piece of property because you gotta have a 75-foot radius for the septic
But
and
it's
well.
not known.
Until we,
So-
They don't know.
until we actually know, I don't think these lots, I've given this some thought over the week since Liz talked to me. I don't think we should do it until they're merged. And we actually know where the septic and definitely where the septic is.
We don't know where the septic is. There's nothing in the town records for the septic.
Did they
That's
check
the
with the
problem.
state?
Sure, the state won't have it.
But if it
Probably
burns,
State will have
If I get-
Oh,
The
yes.
state doesn't have all septic systems. You know how many septic systems are done without the state knowing it?
but if it burns down, there
Tons.
should be a septic pipe somewhere that we can follow up to.
I-
My recommendation is we pull that one off the auction. Pull both of those lots off.
Mr. Chairman, if we auction it, if we keep them on the auction block, two different people could buy them.
Not if they're one lot.
Oh, no, wait a
Well,
minute.
somebody could, yeah.
As they're separate lots right now.
Yep.
So technically, if we go to auction with them, the way it is, two different people could buy the lots.
No, what she's saying is they'll be sold as one lot at the auction.
Yeah.
But the
I said if we keep it the way it is
Merge by
now,
contract.
like you're talking,
Yeah,
like I said.
you sell two separate lots. One's got a well on it, one don't. One's got a septic, one's got a well.
It's buyer beware.
Mhm.
I know.
I mean, that, to me, in all business ethics, that is just totally. Because you knowingly know there's a problem and there's an issue there now, and you're knowingly gonna sell two lots with an issue. That is,
What's the issue?
that is unethical.
But what's the issue?
The issue is, one piece of property has their well on somebody, on another
But
lot.
it doesn't have a building on it yet.
It's.
So you're selling a
if the
piece of
buyer-
property with a well.
Buyer
That's what
beware.
you're doing. Selling a piece of property with a well on it.
As an elected official, I ethically know there's a problem there and I will not vote for that at that point. That's unethical.
Oh, I
If
gotta-
it was something that was not of knowledge, that would be one thing, but there's knowledge of it now in the system. That would be totally unethical as far as I'm concerned.
Why? Because you're selling a well on
But
another
the
piece
board
of
can
property?
decide what they want to do. I would vote no against that.
Sold
I
lots.
was just gonna say
We've
that.
sold lots in this town without a septic system on it or a well.
We had a
on it.
property that was in the old dump
That's right.
and we won and told the people, you know.
And I was against that. I never voted for
I know,
that.
I know you were.
I bought a lot right on Bay Hill Road, and that was a small lot and there was nothing there.
I have no problem with merging by conduct and just selling.
I bought it, buyer
As is.
beware. Buy stuff at a town tax
So
sale.
it's an automatic, absolute auction. You buy it as is.
And it's up to you to, and I believe the auctioneer spells that out.
Yes.
To investigate
Yes,
the titles.
Yes.
It's your responsibility.
I don't know, I guess if I was a builder and I went up there to hot bid on it, I would probably want to see it as two lots too, but as what we're sitting here right now,
Then you buy
kind
it.
of doesn't make much sense to. We've already discussed it, I mean, what's the sense in tying it up, let's just move the piece of property. We're not real estate agents.
that's, I was just gonna say that. We're not in the business of real estate agency. So I have no problem taking the advice of the building code enforcement officer and going with merging the two lots and just sell it as one.
I'm okay
I have
with
no
that,
issue
too.
with that. The people will be told exactly at auction what the deal is, whether they accept it or not is up to them.
I have no problem merging lots. I just feel it should be done before the auction.
Oh, absolutely. If we're gonna merge them, they gotta be done.
So it's,
Sit there.
it's been scheduled. It's either for the end of October or towards the end of November. I just don't recall the date off of head. Do you know
Coming up our next meeting,
when are your when are
So
your
do we have
meetings?
It could be
enough time to
done.
merge them
first of
before
next
that?
month, ain't it?
Do we have enough time to merge them?
It could be, right?
19th of next month.
There is enough time to do that.
19th.
I have no
October?
problem, as long as the merger's done. That's the only thing I feel.
I think there's enough time.
I can see if I can reach town.
Merge them now and so I'm fine with that.
Well, it has to go in front of planning board, which won't be till the 19th of October. Goes on the agenda. That's our next planning board meeting. And your auction's the 20th of November, so month's enough time to get it registered with the deeds and everything.
There should be enough time.
I'm just not sure.
Government.
Oh, I know, but there should be enough time.
I don't know if it's the October meeting or the November meeting.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If she can, they can put it on the October one, it could be done by auction. But I agree with Ruben. It shouldn't be sold and then say, we're gonna merge them later. It should be merged before
No, I
the
agree
auction.
with that, too.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
And I have no problem with that, because then there's no issues.
Well, as long as it's merged before. no problem.
There is no
I
problem.
disagree with merging them, but,
It qualifies
Suppose.
under that, there's a state law, merger by conduct.
but you're
That's what I
taking
just
that
said.
law and twisting it.
I said merger by conduct.
I'm not.
Yes, you guys are. You're twisting that law.
I don't think so.
Yes,
You'd
you
like to have
are.
a letter from the town attorney tomorrow that we're legally bound to do.
Nope.
Next meeting.
Merger by conduct is
I've been in the.
the person that owned it before
Unmergers.
They
used
used
it
it
as
as
a
one
one
lot,
property.
right,
as one property, not two.
right.
But then the town should have merged it with them, like they merged everybody else's property. They did not do that. They've kept it as two separate lots.
There's been a lot of issues that way.
So it should be sold as two separate lots in that subdivision up there.
So, Mr. Chairman, while I wait, would you like to revisit this after a couple more items on the agenda? I would recommend that.
Next, we'll go into budgets, Wednesday. There's no budgets on our list.
Right.
Okay, why not? I mean, we've had plenty of time. We've set up these budget hearings weeks ago, and
Mhm. Yep.
this is where we're going into October,
Well, we had
and now we're
two,
being told no budgets.
so, all right, it's not as bad as you're making it sound.
Well, it is to me.
I know.
Hang on.
So,
It don't matter if they come in or not. They don't want to be here, that's fine. But we'll
So-
still do the budgets.
may I
Yep,
answer? Okay, so there were two budgets scheduled there, and that with the same department head, the town clerk's budget and the elections budget, and she's been moved to a different date. And then October 6th, which is next week. There's one on the 6th. There's a meeting on the 6th. Do you remember I asked for several meetings to spread it
Yes.
out a little bit because we only had 3 dates
yeah.
and we could not get everyone scheduled onto the 3
But-
dates.
And we said that it doesn't matter if they're here or not, we want the budgets in.
And
I
then
mean, for
there's,
us to come in and take our time to come in on our nights off.
well, I think
to do
everyone,
One budget. To schedule one budget in and a
And-
small budget at that,
and then there's
that's piss poor planning.
a meeting, well, I disagree. And
I,
there's a meeting, I respectfully disagree, and there's also a meeting the following week on the 12th and the 13th.
And the 13th.
And that's it. That's it.
now you want to put personnel policy on?
On the 29th.
Right, has the changes in that policy gone back to the supervisors or the department heads?
Yes,
So everybody's got to look at it and had a meeting to come in and say their piece on it?
yes. Laura, would you like to add to this?
They were all sent after your request.
and did
all
we-
the department heads.
And did we have a meeting with them to,
Nope,
hear their
they were to
beefs?
Review it and send me any comments, adjustments that they wanted to speak on, and I have a few. But that's all. And I haven't made those changes I'm gonna bring to the board.
I just want to make sure that they're still tied into it.
I sent it twice. Yep.
as well as it being addressed at a department head meeting. So
Okay.
there's been a lot.
Sit on me, Bob. On you. Yep. Want Mr. Kidman to come up?
Yeah. Scott.
He's all upset at you.
There's nothing to be upset about.
Not really,
Nothing to be upset about.
unless I'm
Yeah,
upset
there
with
you go
us.
again.
So I also need to talk.
What was the outcome of this weight limit sign last week?
Do you want me to bring it tonight or?
I spoke to our chairman for the meeting, and I had a concern. The sign that's up there now, I had the same concern at the last meeting when last meeting I was here with you. The verbiage, it is 6-ton weight limit sign. Very similar to the one we put up in the springtime, except this is a permanent sign. The springtime one is a temporary orange sign, which people are very well accustomed to. This sign, I've already had a personal issue with it. And I brought that up at the meeting before about deliveries. And I'm not talking about heat and oil deliveries or this. I'm talking about, for a prime example, what happened to me. I had a delivery come of a washing machine. I got a phone call. They were packed up on Route 28, up on top of the hill. Saw your sign, saw our sign, and said they won't come down the road. I said, well, you can still come down the road. It's for delivery purpose and so forth. But then, of course, I did remember that the verbiage was a permit was required. And I questioned that night. And the reason I questioned it was, again, they're not familiar with this, your companies and so forth. And we had public hearings. We had 2 public hearings on those 3 roads together. And not, to the best of my recollection, I couldn't recall anybody ever talking about permitting to bring a delivery to a house. It was also brought up, how would that be enforced? And the chief of police was here. And to the best of my recollection, he stated that most of your delivery trucks have a bill of lading. And if we stop a truck on that road, but he's going to 72 Bay Hill Road to drop off a new TV, there's no problem. That's how it would have been enforced. So the average person that lives on Bay Hill Road doesn't know what's going on here. So when they get something delivered, this turns into a problem. And the word permitting also says you got to get a permit. Well, what is it? Is it word of mouth? Is it, I just don't know how it works. I thought sign, originally, the problem was through trucking. That was where we all started this off on. Years, seems like years ago, but so now what's happened is we've closed it off with a permanent weight limit sign year round. I think it should be set up no through trucking over 6 ton. And then that way people could get deliveries. And if the police stop them, there's a bill of lading or a slip stating he's making a delivery to 69 Bay Hill Road or whatever it is. I thought that would simplify it. Make it a lot easier for
I thought
everybody.
it was simplified.
Hmm?
But we discussed all this and I thought we had it that originally, if you don't mind me saying, originally we talked about a no food trucking sign and was deemed not necessary because the permanent 6-ton limit sign was there.
Right.
And we never did discuss permitting, not for the local residents.
No, nothing prior to that meeting, at the last meeting when the chief was here. The permit, that was the first time I had seen that.
And there was verbiage that was changed a little bit on that, that line item.
So when it's a seasonal situation, of course, people have to get permits.
I
It's a
understand.
seasonal situation, and it's spelled out in the RSA about, you know, the road agent or highway agent
That's,
has that discretionary
yep.
mechanism in order to do that based upon, you know, where it's going and what the road is, so forth. So, I mean, I agree with you. You know, no through trucking, 6-ton, you know, weight limit
Mhm.
along that line. I
no
think the
problem.
biggest thing is having the weight limit is a necessity. And I think that is definitely something that you want to make sure you have there just for the enforcement piece of it
Oh, I agree.
that way, because that's the only way that
It's
the
enforceable.
department can actually
Right.
act upon that situation. And granted, like you mentioned, Bob, that, you know, they would have a slip saying that they're making a delivery to that. But once again, I'm not sure if that will necessitate another meeting and another discussion, if in fact.
Well, that's. I think it's a simple solution. Increase the size of the sign. Woodsville has one. It says 6-ton road limit except local delivery. Could be added on to the bottom of the sign. Simple solution. And in the springtime, when we put the 6-ton on, we take that sign down or cover that sign up for the 6 weeks or the 8 weeks going.
That's fine.
Put your pink one on.
That's
But I mean,
totally fine.
that's.
We,
And that, because there are a lot of truck companies that will not go down a road now when they see those 6-ton, when they have a local delivery, especially at that DOT numbers, because if they do get stopped, they get written up, it goes on their scorecard.
Yeah.
Such as me, when I run my DOT numbers. So a lot of them won't come down no matter what. And if they feel they have to go get a permit, they'll say, well, you get the permit or come get the wash machine. But I think we would be covered if we change that bottom of the sign, except for local deliveries.
and we did talk about that, and you were absolutely right. Originally, we were gonna have the signs that said, and Ken knows, we're gonna have the signs that said, no, either no through trucking and included with the 6-ton limit sign. But I think it was at the time, the chief didn't feel as though it was necessary to have that extra sign. We were talking about having too many.
Except for now.
Huh?
Except for now.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Go ahead, Liz.
So I was gonna bring this up. I was gonna bring this
Oh,
up
okay.
as well tonight,
Good.
Scott. You were part of the chain earlier today. So the police chief did send out today a
Good.
finalized draft to Scott and I to bring forward to the board for the public hearing that needs to be done in order to
Yes.
change that.
Yes,
And there is an exception in this policy.
right, that's what we
That
discussed.
reads, basically the 6
did.
tons, et cetera, except
you.
for routine property deliveries under New Hampshire RSA.
Oh, but that's,
You're right on that.
we've got to finish up with the verbiage
With that,
and okay.
I would think that the sign
Hasn't
can't
been
go up
changed.
until
Until it
Public
gets
hearing.
been approved.
Public hearing.
Public hearing.
Right. And then the other one was,
Takes forever.
it does. There's another one, Old Wolfboro Road between Route 11 and Route
Yes.
28. No combination truck, tractor, semi with trailer with combined weight of 15 tons, 30,000 pounds.
Which road was that?
Hold it down.
Old Wolfboro Road right over here that you had all spoken
Yes.
to the chief
And
a month ago or
Yeah.
whenever it was.
And we wanted everybody here.
Right.
That's why we started to discuss it, but it wasn't on the agenda to discuss, Old Wolfboro Road. So we said we bring that up the next time.
So do you want to schedule the public hearing for Bay Hill Road and discuss Old Wolfboro Road? Or do you want two public hearings
I
at
thought we already did that.
the same
That's why I
time?
get confused. We go back
Did
so
have a
many
public
times.
hearing.
We've had
I
We've
know.
already had a public hearing
Yeah.
twice.
Just working on the
I
verbiage.
know, I know.
What are we having another one?
I thought we voted.
That's what
To,
gets
to
confusing.
approve the,
Voted a
the the wording that you all talked about at the last
Yeah.
meeting.
Right, and I thought we
I didn't know we had to
turned
go to a
down,
public meeting.
or
yet.
Wolfboro Road got turned down, and Bay Hill was the only one being done.
So I think in order to solve all this, maybe Ryan and Scott should be scheduled for another meeting to have
Yes.
another talk.
And can we get the minutes of the other meeting?
Which one?
That when we
Which
had the
meeting?
public hearing, when we discussed
You mean the latest public hearing? Okay.
on this.
Yeah, every time you change any of that.
I know.
That verbiage, you have to have a public hearing in order to be able to have an enforcement action.
This will be number 3.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I understand, it's taking quite a bit of time here, but now Ryan as chief has
just today.
drafted up this
Yeah,
new
okay.
language based upon the
Thank you.
What
conversation
we talked about.
last time and has put that together. That way we can create a sign from that that ends up happening, whether we add on there something about local deliveries or something along that line, whatever.
Whatever the verbiage is.
He had, going back a few months back, at one of the meetings he had pictures of signs of what was gonna be, and we discussed it back then. We talked about the signs. The inclement weather sign was one. The other one was no through traffic. The other one was 6 ton.
Yeah, and I would encourage us to collectively, however we do that, either through the PD or through the town or from the Board of Selectmen, that we do an informational letter that would go out to residents as well. Because if you take this seriously, as far as looking at it, the idea is just like it is during the springtime, when you end up having those weight restrictions. We encourage our residents to, if they have to get a delivery of a washing machine, that they come in a smaller vehicle, a smaller box van.
Right.
If they're gonna have a larger vehicle, lots of times, to be perfectly honest with you, if it's too soft, I tell people, you're gonna have to find somebody like, whether it be Ruben or somebody
I've done it.
that has a smaller one-ton vehicle that can maybe go in.
I've done it. I've gone down and
Right.
they've parked down at Downing's Landing, and I've gone down, loaded my truck and brought it up.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the springtime. That's,
No.
that's not an issue.
We know, Bob.
The issue is a safety issue you have on the hill with trucks that are heavy.
Yeah,
Might get run away.
well, yeah, but, okay,
You're saying it's
I
okay
mean-
for a tractor trailer to go down it to deliver you,
I understand that,
not to use it.
but yeah, it's a safety issue. But oil trucks are coming down there
Can't-
without getting permission, without getting a permit. So why can't a delivery vehicle do it without a permit? That's all I gotta
You're
do.
losing me.
Because an oil
I
truck
don't understand what you're.
is almost like a first responder vehicle,
What are you talking about?
because you can't deny oil from going into somebody's house for heat.
All right, okay.
It's against the law.
You don't understand what I'm trying to,
I understand it.
no, you don't.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't understand.
I don't get you anymore.
Different way of-
You're going around and around, and I don't get it either.
If you go look at the verbiage of the sign,
Well, that's gonna get changed when we do
That's-
the.
gonna be changed, okay?
We'll discuss it
Alright.
again.
Thank you,
Tenth
Scott.
freaking time.
Thank you.
As long as we plan on
Discuss it one
changing
more
that
time.
verbiage, I got
Yeah.
no problem.
That's coming up on
Let's
the
just-
Thank you,
meeting.
Scott.
All right,
Thank you very
now,
much, Scott.
now, before we adjourn, Liz has some questions from the budget committee.
Well,
for
also,
us.
I have not heard back from the town planner on the auction. So what is your final decision?
Have it put on the planning board. I'd like to see it on their next meeting.
No,
Next-
I'm talking about, oh, okay.
Have her put it on in October. That way it gives them enough time before the auction. I mean,
And if-
sure, it ain't gonna take that long.
So
It's more or less just a vote of the board, right?
is that the wishes of the board?
My feeling, I want to merge before they go to auction.
What?
Right,
I want to merge before they go to auction.
right. What I'm saying is, we have a planning board meeting on the 19th. Third-
She's saying she wants to know what the board's wishes are about this whole auction thing. Are we?
Right.
Well, because a lot of things were mentioned earlier. Pull the two properties from the auction, don't merge them,
But we didn't
merge
make a
them.
motion.
And
Make
that's,
a motion.
but that's what I'm saying, Ruben, is if we put it in front of the board, the planning board, at the next meeting, instead of waiting until November. We get it in front of the board by next meeting, we can have it ready to go for the auction.
Chairman, I make a motion to sell the 2 lots on Alton Shores Road as long as they emerge before the auction.
Would you repeat that again? To sell the 2 lots?
So the 2 lots on Alton Shores Road.
You mean separately or as one?
As one, as
Okay.
long as they emerge before the auction.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, and then if they're not merged before if we can't get on,
You can't do
Sell
anything
them.
with them right now.
okay, so
My motion.
but I need a motion then to pull those 2 if that scenario
You
happens.
you got the motion. If they're not merged, you can't sell them.
My motion is merge them before the auction. If they're not
Yeah.
merged before the auction, you
Then
can't
you
sell.
can't sell.
All right, thank you.
That's what your motion is.
Yep.
That's fine.
I
All
second
right,
that.
any discussion?
I second it.
And Bob seconded it.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now,
Jesus Christ.
right now,
That's my son.
Excuse my French.
now, Liz, you have some questions from the budget committee.
Yes, I do. We didn't have a budget committee rep.
No, because.
At the last.
And I'm gonna be honest with you,
I
I'm
don't
right in
care.
the middle of my own stuff at work, so.
I understand, but I asked that if you are not able to make a budget committee meeting, could you at least let the selectman's office know so that we can reach out to the alternate BOS member who would be filling in?
Okay, yeah, I
Because
can do that.
they have.
I did that tonight, I wasn't aware that.
They-
I make sure
Thank you. They have a lot
I
of,
will not be here Wednesday or Thursday, just so you know, and I think I said that.
okay. They have a lot of questions, so. And I was
Can we say no to
tasked,
all?
you may do whatever you wish. I was tasked with bringing these forward to the selectmen.
Can I say something before you get into it, Liz? I don't mean to cut you off, but I almost think with the amount of questions, because yes, in there, I think we maybe should have the budget committee here, because there's some questions that I'm sitting there going, I don't know what you want me to say. There's not a whole board here. I can't answer that.
Welcome to
So,
the budget committee.
I understand that, but
It changes weekly, the
yeah,
questions.
yeah, well.
Dave's questions?
Yes. If that's how you want to put it, yes.
Good luck.
Yeah.
You just say thank you, you'll note it.
This is a recorded meeting,
You just know, right? He can't make a decision on his own,
so.
right?
Yeah, that's what, I told him that.
Make a suggestion.
Can they just send us a letter, review it at the next selectmen's meeting?
I would be happy to take it back to them and ask them if they would be willing to do that.
Or give us
Quickest and
copies of
That's
it.
the quickest and easiest way, because I can probably see that there's the same question that's been asked for the last 4 years.
That's what I'm thinking.
And I'm gonna tell you, I've seen him before, and I've only been on the budget committee for half a year last year.
All right, thank you.
Bob's the alternate, right?
Yes, and if Bob is not available,
Ruben,
we'll be calling the
Send-
rest of
No,
you.
no. If Bob's not available, you better be available. You can call me as the last resort. You might not be happy when I get done.
Right, right.
All right, thank you.
And if I have a heart attack at that one, can I claim workman's comp on the town? If I get my blood pressure up that bad?
It's gonna, yeah, no.
But yeah,
Well, I had one in May, so you know, what's the difference?
Have an aspirin before you go.
Right.
I get a few.
All right. I'm gonna add a
I don't want
public
to be
input to this.
resuscitated either.
Make sure, it's
Yep, that's true.
public input. Nothing?
No, we had public input.
Quick, move on.
Well, no, I just wanted to make sure she's been sitting there the whole meeting, that if she's got something to
Oh.
tell us or something. No?
no?
Okay.
Hedda, I didn't see Hedda.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because she's been sitting there the whole meeting, and so she must be wanting to rip me a new one or something.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting's adjourned.
The only way I can.
Yeah, I just-